The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure that housed the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Inside, hundreds of alien species gathered, their forms ranging from crystalline entities that sparkled like living diamonds to insectoid creatures that clicked and chittered in their own languages. At the center of it all stood Jiho, a human ambassador who had traveled 3 months to reach this place. Jiho wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. His hands trembled slightly, though he kept his face calm. He had spent years preparing for this moment, learning the customs of dozens of alien races, memorizing their protocols, understanding their fears. Now he stood before them asking for something simple: fair trade and protection for human ships. The crystalline being known as Thulmar rose from his seat. Light passed through his body, creating rainbows on the chamber walls. His voice sounded like wind chimes, translated into human language by the devices everyone wore. "Ambassador Jiho of Earth," Thulmar said, "the Council has reviewed your request. We find it premature." Jiho took a breath. Premature? Humanity has been part of galactic society for 200 years. We have followed every rule, paid every tax, contributed to every peacekeeping mission you've asked us to join. Our merchant ships are being attacked by pirates in the Outer Rim, and we're asking for the same protection you give everyone else. An insectoid creature named Zilthar clicked its mandibles together. The translator made it sound like laughter, though Jiho wasn't sure if that's what it meant. 200 years is nothing, human. My people have been part of this council for 20,000 years. Your species is too young, too aggressive. You fight too much among yourselves. You expand too quickly. You make others nervous. We fight to defend ourselves, Jiho said, his voice rising despite his efforts to stay calm. We expand because we have families that need homes. We make others nervous because we're different. None of that justifies leaving our people unprotected. The chamber filled with sounds, chirps, hums, clicks, and tones that the translator struggled to convert into words. Most of it was negative. Jiho could feel the decision had already been made before he even arrived. This meeting was just theater, a show of process where the outcome was predetermined. Thulmar raised one crystalline limb and the chamber fell silent. The Council has made its decision. Effective immediately, Earth and all human colonies will be placed under the Silence Protocol. All trade agreements are terminated. All communication access is revoked. Human vessels are banned from Council-protected space. This will remain in effect until humanity learns its place in the galactic order. The words hit Jiho like a physical blow. The Silence Protocol. It was the Council's harshest punishment, reserved for species that threatened galactic peace. It meant total isolation. No trade, no communication, no help if disaster struck. Earth and its colonies would be completely alone. "You're making a mistake," Jiho said quietly. Around him, the alien representatives were already standing, preparing to leave. Most wouldn't even look at him. "We came here in peace. We asked for fairness. We've done everything you've demanded of us. And now we demand your silence," Thulmar replied. "Perhaps in isolation you will learn humility." Jiho stood there for a long moment, watching as the chamber emptied. Only Zilthar remained, the insectoid creature studying him with compound eyes that reflected Jiho's image 1,000 times over. "This is not personal, human," Zilthar said softly. "The Council fears change. Your species changes too fast, adapts too quickly. It makes the old powers uncomfortable. They want to slow you down. By cutting us off completely, by teaching you to need them." Zilthar's mandibles clicked in what might have been sympathy. "In a year, maybe 2, they expect you to return, desperate and willing to accept any terms. That's how it has always worked." Jiho straightened his uniform and picked up his data pad, where his prepared speech still glowed on the screen. He had planned to talk about cooperation and mutual benefit, about the discoveries humanity could share and the contributions they could make. None of it mattered now. "Tell the Council something for me," Jiho said as he walked toward the exit. "Tell them we came with open hands. Tell them we offered friendship and partnership. And tell them that we will remember exactly how they responded." The chamber doors sealed behind him with a hiss of pressurized air. Jiho walked through the empty corridors of the station toward the docking bay where his ship waited. His crew was already preparing for departure, their faces grim as they received the news from Earth Command. As his ship pulled away from the station, Jiho watched the great structure shrink in the view screen. All across human space, communication arrays were going dark. Trade ships were being turned away from ports they'd used for generations. Messages from human colonies were being blocked and deleted. The galaxy had chosen silence. Jiho opened a channel to Earth Command. Ambassador Jiho reporting. The Council has rejected our petition and imposed the silence protocol. We are officially cut off. The response came quickly. Understood, Ambassador. Return home. We have work to do. Jiho closed the channel and stared out at the stars. The Council thought silence would break humanity, would force them to beg for readmission to galactic society. They thought 200 years of human progress could be erased by isolation. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 5 years had passed since the galaxy went silent to humanity. On the Council station, Thulmar reviewed reports with growing confusion. His crystalline form flickered with colors that indicated concern, though few others could read his kind's emotional displays. They should be desperate by now, he said to Zilthar, who had become something like his advisor on human matters. 5 years without trade, without our technology, without access to the galactic market. Where are the emergency broadcasts? Where are the pleas for mercy? Zilthar's compound eyes studied the data streaming across the display. There are no emergency broadcasts because they stopped trying to contact us after the first month. As for their condition, the insectoid paused, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Perhaps you should see this yourself. The display changed to show surveillance footage from the edge of human space. A ship moved through the darkness, sleek and efficient. But it wasn't a human ship. It was a Nerian vessel, one of the aquatic species that existed on the fringes of Council influence. So they're trading with minor species, Thulmar said dismissively. Desperate measures from a desperate people. Watch what happens next. The Nerian ship approached a human station. The station was larger than it should have been, more advanced than the simple outposts humans had maintained 5 years ago. When the Nerian vessel docked, the surveillance drone managed to capture part of the transaction. The Nerians were buying human technology. That's impossible, Thulmar said flatly. Their technology was inferior to ours. That's why they needed our markets. 5 years ago, yes. Zilthar pulled up more data, but our informants report something different now. The humans aren't buying from the Nerians. The Nerians are buying from the humans. Advanced medical equipment, better engines for their ships, communication devices that exceed our own standards. Thulmar's form flashed bright red, the crystalline equivalent of anger. Show me their colonies. Show me Earth itself. They must be struggling. Captain Minho of the human merchant ship Taywin's Fortune was having a very different conversation. He stood in the cargo bay of his vessel, supervising the loading of medical supplies bound for the colony on New Busan. His first officer, a woman named Soyeon, approached with a datapad. Report from Earth Command, she said. The Council is trying to spy on us again. Another surveillance drone near the Kepler station. Did we destroy it? No. We let it see exactly what we wanted it to see, then sent it on its way. Soyeon smiled. They're probably very confused right now. Minho laughed. The sound echoed in the cargo bay, mixing with the noise of loading machinery and crew voices. 5 years ago, everyone had been terrified. The silence protocol meant death for most species. Cut off from galactic trade, most isolated civilizations collapsed within 2 years. But humanity hadn't collapsed. They had adapted. How's the new engine working? Minho asked as they walked toward the bridge. Better than the old Council-approved model, Soyeon said. She was an engineer by training, and the pride in her voice was obvious. Hyun's team really outdid themselves. 30% more efficient, and we built it entirely from resources in our own system. No exotic materials needed. On Earth, in a facility buried deep beneath the surface, Hyun himself was presenting his team's latest breakthrough to the Unified Government Council. Holographic displays showed complex mathematical formulas and engine designs that would have seemed impossible 5 years ago. The Council's technology was actually holding us back, Hyun explained to the assembled leaders. Their engines required rare materials that only existed in Council space, which meant we could never truly be independent. So we started from scratch, built something new, something better. Director Yuna, the head of the Unified Human Defense Initiative, studied the designs carefully. She was a thin woman with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. And this works? We've tested it on 50 vessels so far. Not a single failure. Our ships are now faster than anything in the Council fleet, and we can manufacture them anywhere humans live. What about the colonies? Asked President Kyung, a broad-shouldered man who had led Earth through the darkest days after the silencing. Are they surviving? Surviving? Yuna laughed, though there was no humor in it. They're thriving. New Sol has doubled in population. The Mars colonies are completely self-sufficient. We've established 7 new settlements in the past 3 years alone. The Council thought isolation would kill us. Instead, it forced us to rely on ourselves, and we discovered we're much better at survival than anyone thought. Back on the Council station, Thulmar was seeing the evidence of this survival. The surveillance drones showed human colonies that glowed with light and activity. Ships moved between them in efficient patterns. New structures were being built. Everything looked prosperous. This cannot be correct, Thulmar insisted. Check the data again. There must be an error. There is no error. Zilthar's voice was somber. I tried to warn you 5 years ago. Humans adapt. It's what they do best. You cut them off from galactic society, so they built their own society. You took away the technology they depended on, so they invented better technology. You thought silence would humble them. And instead we taught them they don't need us at all. The words hung in the air between them. Thulmar's crystalline form flickered through several colors before settling on a deep blue that indicated deep thought. Surely they still need something from us, he said. Energy sources? Raw materials? Medical knowledge? Zilthar displayed more reports. Their fusion reactors now outperform ours. They've discovered 3 new asteroid fields full of rare metals in their own space. And their medical advances? The insectoid paused. They've cured 17 diseases that we still struggle with, increased their average lifespan by 20 years. And they did it all without our help. On a human colony world called New Jeju, children played in parks while their parents worked in laboratories and factories. Ships came and went from the orbital platform, carrying goods between the 47 human worlds that now dotted this section of space. None of them asked permission from the Council. None of them sent messages seeking reconciliation. They simply lived, worked, and built their future in silence. Director Yuna stood at the observation deck of Earth's primary defense station, watching construction crews assemble another warship. It was the 80th they'd built in 5 years, each one incorporating technology the Council couldn't match. Do you think they're watching us? Asked her assistant. I know they are, Yuna replied. And I know what they see is keeping them awake at night. They thought we were children who needed their guidance. Now they're realizing we were giants who just needed a reason to stand up. 8 years after the silencing, the Outer Rim burned. Pirate fleets swept through the territories that bordered human space, attacking any vessel they found. The reptilian Sorax had lost 3 entire colony worlds to slave raids. The Kresh reported that their trade routes were completely blocked by pirate strongholds. Even the mighty Vexari had suffered losses. Commander Gisiok of the Vexari patrol ship Crystal Dawn received the distress signal at the start of his shift. It came from a pirate base known as Red Harbor, a massive station carved into an asteroid where criminals had operated for decades. The message was brief and chaotic, cut off mid-transmission. All units respond. Under attack. Unknown vessels. They're everywhere. We can't, then silence. Gishok brought his ship to Red Harbor 3 hours later, expecting to find the pirate base preparing for battle, or perhaps celebrating a victory over a rival gang. Instead, he found wreckage. The entire asteroid had been carved open like a fruit, its interior exposed to vacuum. Hundreds of ships floated dead in space, their hulls punctured with perfect precision. Not a single vessel remained operational. Scan for survivors, Gishok ordered his crew. There are none, Commander. Every ship was hit in critical systems. Life support failed within minutes. The attack happened approximately 4 hours ago. 4 hours. The pirates had sent their distress call, died, and the battlefield had gone cold, all before Gishok's patrol had even arrived. He stared at the destruction and tried to understand what he was seeing. What weapon does this? He asked aloud. These aren't energy burns. These aren't missile impacts. What makes holes like that? His tactical officer enlarged the images on the main display. The holes in the pirate ships were perfectly circular, about 2 meters across, punched through the thickest armor as if it were paper. Kinetic weapons, the officer said. Solid projectiles fired at extremely high velocity, but the accuracy required is impossible, Giseok finished. To hit moving targets in space combat with physical projectiles at these distances with this precision, no one has that kind of targeting system. Should we investigate the station itself? Giseok brought the Crystal Dawn closer to the ruined asteroid. The pirate base had been home to thousands of criminals, a haven where slavers and murderers could rest between raids. Now it was a tomb. His sensors showed no life signs, no active power sources, no defensive systems. Everything had been systematically destroyed. Pull the security recordings, he ordered. The pirate base's backup system still held fragments of data. Giseok's crew assembled what they could find into a coherent timeline. The attack had lasted exactly 17 minutes from start to finish. The footage showed ships emerging from nowhere, dark hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with impossible precision, firing those devastating kinetic weapons with accuracy that shouldn't exist. But the most disturbing part was the silence. No communication, no demands, no warnings. The unknown ship simply appeared, destroyed every pirate vessel and installation, then vanished. The footage showed them leaving, but Giseok's long-range sensors had detected nothing. It was as if they'd simply ceased to exist. "Commander, you need to see this," his communications officer said. "I've been checking reports from other sectors. This isn't the only attack." Over the next hour, Giseok reviewed 17 similar incidents. Pirate bases destroyed, slaver convoys eliminated, black market stations gone dark. All within the past 3 weeks. All with the same pattern. Dark ships, kinetic weapons, perfect precision, total destruction, and then nothing. "Who's doing this?" Giseok asked. No one had an answer. On Earth, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Admiral Yoonji reviewed the same reports that Giseok was puzzling over. She sat in a command center filled with holographic displays showing the entire Outer Rim region. Each red dot represented a pirate base or criminal operation that had been eliminated. There were hundreds of red dots now, and more appeared each day. "The Council is scared," said Taehyung, her intelligence officer. He was young but brilliant, with a talent for reading enemy communications. "They're calling emergency sessions, demanding answers, but they're too proud to ask the obvious question, which is whether we're responsible." Yoonji smiled coldly. She was a thin woman with sharp features and eyes that had seen too much combat. Before the silencing, she'd been a merchant captain. After the silencing, when the pirates had started attacking human ships with impunity, she'd volunteered for the military. Now she commanded the fleet that didn't exist. "Show me the next target," she said. Taehyung brought up a holographic display of a pirate stronghold near Kresh Space. It was bigger than Red Harbor had been. Home to over 5,000 criminals who specialized in stealing advanced technology and selling it on the black market. "They hit a Kresh colony transport last week," Taehyung reported. "Killed 200 civilians, took another 300 as slaves. The Kresh appealed to the Council for help. The Council did nothing." "Then we'll do something." Yoonji studied the stronghold's defenses. Heavy shields, automated weapons, thousands of fighters. It was designed to resist a major military assault from any Council species. "Deploy Ghost Fleet Units 7 through 12. I want this place erased within 20 minutes. "Yes, Admiral." The ships that launched from hidden bases throughout human space were marvels of engineering. Their hulls were coated with materials that absorbed radar and light, making them nearly invisible to sensors. Their engines produced minimal heat signatures. Their weapons were simple kinetic accelerators that fired solid slugs of dense metal at percentages of light speed, guided by targeting computers that could predict enemy movements with frightening accuracy. They were called the Ghost Fleet, and they had one mission: protect human interests and eliminate threats. The fact that they also protected other species from pirates was simply a bonus, a way of showing the galaxy what humanity could do when left alone. Back on the Crystal Dawn, Giseok received new orders from the Council. He was to investigate the disappearance of another pirate base, this one near Kresh territory. He made the jump to that sector and arrived to find the same scene: total destruction, perfect precision, no survivors. This time, however, the security footage showed something new. One of the dark ships had lingered after the battle, and the pirate station's dying cameras had captured a brief image. It wasn't much, just a shadow of a hull, but it was enough. "Enhance that section," Giseok ordered. The image appeared on his main display, grainy and incomplete. But there on the side of the dark hull was a marking. Simple, almost invisible, but definitely there. It looked like Earth's symbol, the blue and green circle that represented humanity's homeworld. Gisuk stared at the image for a long time. "Commander?" his tactical officer asked. "Should we report this to the Council?" "Report what? That we found a blurry image that might show a human symbol? They'll dismiss it as speculation. Or worse, they'll demand we investigate human space, which would require breaking the silence protocol they themselves imposed. So what do we do?" Gisuk thought about the pirates who had plagued these sectors for decades, the slaves who had died, the colonies that had been burned. He thought about how the Council had done nothing because they were too busy maintaining appearances and political games. And he thought about these ghost ships that appeared from nowhere, eliminated threats with surgical precision, then vanished. "We do nothing," he said finally. "If humanity is doing this, then they're solving a problem the Council never bothered to fix. Maybe that's the real lesson here. We silenced them, cut them off, left them defend for themselves. And they're doing exactly that. They're defending themselves and anyone else who needs defending. The Council won't like that answer." "The Council," Gisuk said quietly, "is beginning to realize they made a terrible mistake." 12 years after the silencing, the Great Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species shouted at each other in their native languages, while translators struggled to keep up. At the center of it all, Chancellor Thulmar's crystalline form flickered through colors so rapidly it created a dizzying light show. "Order," he demanded, his voice cutting through the noise. "This council will have order!" The Sorax representative, a massive reptilian being named Korath, slammed his clawed hand on his desk. "Order? You want order while our colonies burn? While our people are taken as slaves? We demand to know who is protecting our borders when the Council will not." "The pirate problem is being addressed," Thulmar said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Addressed by whom?" Korath roared.
"Your patrols arrive too late every time."
"But someone else arrives right on time. Someone with ships we cannot see and weapons we cannot match. Someone who destroys our enemies and asks nothing in return." "You are suggesting—" "I am not suggesting anything. I am stating facts. The humans are protecting us. The same humans you isolated. The same humans you said were too aggressive, too dangerous. They are saving our people while you debate protocol." A rippling sound came from the Nerian section, the aquatic species communicating in their musical language. Their translator spoke. "The Nerian people formally thank humanity for eliminating the pirate clans that enslaved our outer populations. We wish to recognize them publicly." Thulmar's form flashed bright red. "The silence protocol forbids any official contact with humanity. To thank them would be to acknowledge their existence in galactic affairs. Then we acknowledge it." Another voice, this time from the Kresh section. Zilthar stood, his insectoid form somehow conveying defiance despite his alien nature. "The Kresh hive can no longer participate in this charade. We have been trading with humanity for 6 years." The chamber fell silent. Every representative turned to stare at Zilthar. "What did you say?" Thulmar asked quietly. "We have been trading with humanity," Zilthar repeated. "And we are not alone." He gestured around the chamber. 17 species here have done the same. "We kept silent to protect our agreements, but I will not hide the truth any longer. Humanity offers better technology, better trade terms, and better security than this council has provided in 1,000 years." "This is treason," Thulmar said. "This is survival," Zilthar replied. "You isolated them, expecting them to fail. Instead, they built something better than what we have. Their medical technology has saved millions of Kresh lives. Their manufacturing processes have tripled our colony output. Their security forces have protected our borders when your fleets would not." One by one, other representatives stood. The Nerians, the Talox, the Vren, each one admitting they had secret agreements with humanity. Each one praising the benefits they'd received. "Why?" Thulmar asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Why would you betray the council?" "Because you forced us to choose between council politics and our people's survival," said the Vren representative. "We chose our people." At that moment, every holographic display in the chamber flickered and changed. Security alarms blared. Council guards rushed forward, but there was nothing physical to fight. Someone had hacked directly into the council's main communication system. A human woman appeared on every screen. She was tall and thin, with short dark hair and eyes that held no fear. Ambassador Jiwan, daughter of Jiho, the man who had stood in this same chamber 12 years ago. I apologize for the interruption, Jiwan said calmly. But you've been discussing humanity, and I thought we should join the conversation. This is impossible, Thulmar said. Our systems are secure, protected by the best encryption in the galaxy. They were, Jiwan agreed. We've been inside your systems for 7 years now. We've read your communications, studied your strategies, watched your debates. We know everything you've said about us, everything you've planned against us, but we never interfered. Until now. What do you want? Thulmar demanded. Nothing, Jiwan said. We want nothing from you. That's what you never understood. 12 years ago, my father stood before you asking for fairness and partnership. You answered with isolation. You tried to teach us we needed you. Instead, you taught us that we don't. She gestured, and the displays changed to show human colonies, massive stations, fleets of advanced ships. While you debated our fate, we built our own future. We created technology you can't match. We formed alliances you can't break. We protected species you abandoned, all without asking your permission or seeking your approval. You broke the silence protocol, Thulmar accused. No, Jiwan said softly. We observed it perfectly. We never asked you to break the silence. They came to us. Species you failed to protect, failed to serve, failed to value. They sought us out because we offered what you could not. Genuine partnership based on mutual respect, not dominance and submission. The chamber erupted into shouting again. Some representatives demanded punishment for the species who had traded with humans. Others demanded the silence protocol be lifted immediately. Still others simply sat in stunned silence, watching their power structure crumble in real time. Jiwan waited for the noise to die down before continuing. We're not here to threaten you or demand anything. We're simply informing you of reality. The galaxy has changed. Humanity is no longer asking to join your council. We're building our own network with our own rules based on equality rather than hierarchy. Anyone who wishes to join us is welcome. You cannot do this, Thulmar said. You cannot simply create a rival power structure. We already have, Jiwan replied. 73 species are currently in partnership with humanity. 41 of them are council members who are seriously considering leaving to join us instead. Your choice is simple. Recognize that the old order has ended or watch as your council becomes irrelevant. What are your terms? Asked Korath, the Sorax representative. For joining humanity's alliance? Mutual respect, fair trade, shared defense, democratic decision-making where every species has an equal voice, regardless of how long they've been members or how powerful they are. Revolutionary concepts, I know. Zilthar clicked his mandibles in what might have been laughter. The humans are offering what we always claimed the council represented but never actually practiced. This session is adjourned, Thulmar announced, his form flickering with colors that indicated distress. We will reconvene when cooler heads prevail. But as the representatives filed out of the chamber, everyone knew the truth. The council's authority was broken. Humanity had offered an alternative, and dozens of species were already choosing it. On Earth, Director Yuna watched the broadcast with satisfaction. President Junho stood beside her, arms crossed. Jiwan did well, Junho said. She learned from her father, Yuna replied. Jiho taught her that dignity matters more than approval, that standing firm is better than begging, that the only thing worse than rejection is accepting rejection as deserved. How many species have confirmed they're joining our alliance? 52 so far, and more messages arrive every hour. The Kresh are bringing their entire fleet. The Nerians are offering us access to their water-world technologies. The Sorax want military training from our ghost fleet. And Thulmar? Yuna smiled. Thulmar is watching his empire collapse because he never understood a basic truth. You cannot force loyalty. You can demand obedience, but loyalty must be earned. The council demanded obedience. We earned loyalty. Junho looked out at the stars. My grandfather was alive when we first made contact with aliens. He told me we approached them as students, eager to learn. But they treated us as children, inferior and irritating. Now those children have grown up and built something better than their teachers ever imagined. The question is, Yuna said, will the council accept the new reality, or will they fight it? They'll fight, Junho predicted. Pride is a powerful force, but fighting us isn't like fighting each other. We don't play by their rules. No, Yuna agreed. We don't play at all. We build, we protect, and we wait for others to realize which side of history they want to be on. 15 years after the silencing, Ambassador Daehyun walked through the corridors of a neutral station on the border between Council and human space. Behind him followed Admiral Minji, her uniform bearing no insignia that would identify her rank. The Council had finally agreed to talk, but they'd expected to negotiate from a position of strength. They were about to learn how badly they'd misunderstood the situation. The negotiation chamber was smaller than the Great Council Hall, but still impressive. Tulmar sat at the head of the table, his crystalline form subdued in color. Beside him were Zilthar, who had resigned from the Council to join humanity's alliance, and representatives from a dozen species still loyal to the old order. Ambassador Daehyun, Tulmar said formally, "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." "Thank you for finally asking," Daehyun replied. He was a calm man, soft-spoken but unshakable. "Shall we begin?" "We have reviewed humanity's recent activities," Tulmar said. "Your expansion has been aggressive. Your technology seems to have advanced impossibly fast. Your military capabilities appear to exceed reasonable development for a species isolated for 15 years. Is there a question in those observations?" Daehyun asked mildly. "How?" Tulmar's voice carried genuine confusion. "How did you do it? We expected you to struggle, to fail, to return to us humbled. Instead, you've built an empire that rivals our own." Daehyun glanced at Minji, who nodded slightly. "I suppose there's no harm in explaining what you could discover on your own with enough effort." He activated a holographic display that filled the center of the table. "When you imposed the silence protocol, you gave us a gift you didn't intend: necessity. For the first time in 200 years, humanity couldn't rely on anyone else. We had to solve every problem ourselves." The display showed human colony worlds spreading across space. "We started with survival, food production, energy generation, basic manufacturing. Within a year, every colony was self-sufficient. Within 2 years, they were thriving. We learned to use resources more efficiently than council species because we had no choice. That explains survival, not advancement," said a Vren representative who remained council loyal. "The advancement came from removing limitations," Daehyun continued. "Council technology is based on rare materials that only exist in certain sectors. Your engines require exotic crystals from Vexari space. Your weapons need specific alloys found only in Kresh territory. This creates dependency by design." Tulmar's form flickered. "That is not by design. Those are simply the best materials." "They were the best materials you allowed others to use," Minji interjected, speaking for the first time. "But they weren't the best materials possible. When we couldn't access your materials, we experimented with alternatives. We discovered that your technology was optimized for control, not performance." She expanded the display to show engine designs. "Our engines are 30% more efficient than yours, and use materials we can find in any asteroid field. Our weapons hit harder with less energy consumption. Our shields withstand more damage using simpler generators. We built better because we had to, and we had to because you forced us to." 47 colony worlds, Daehyun continued, returning to his list. Each one completely independent but all working together. No bureaucracy, no layers of approval, no competing interests slowing us down. When a colony needed something, the entire network focused on solving that problem. The display shifted to show medical data. "We extended human lifespan by 50 years on average. Cured diseases that the Council calls incurable. Developed treatments that your own medical researchers said were impossible." "How?" asked a Talox representative, leaning forward with obvious interest. "By sharing information freely instead of hoarding it for profit," Daehyun said. "Every human colony has access to every discovery made anywhere in human space. No patents, no restrictions, no corporations controlling who gets treatment. Just medicine for the sake of medicine." Thulmar was silent for a moment. "And your military capabilities?" Minji smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You mean the Ghost Fleet? So you admit it exists?" "It exists," Minji confirmed. "Would you like to know how large it is?" Before anyone could answer, she activated a new display. The hologram showed a map of the entire region, and suddenly it filled with icons representing ships. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. "This is your current fleet," Minji said, highlighting the council vessels in blue. "About 3,000 ships. This is ours." The human vessels appeared in red. There were over 10,000. The room fell silent. "That's impossible," Thulmar said. "We monitored your shipbuilding. We would have seen construction on this scale. You monitored the shipyards you knew about, Minji replied. The ones we let you see. But we built most of our fleet in hidden facilities throughout human space. Each colony has production capacity you didn't know existed. We can build a warship in 3 weeks from start to finish. How long does it take the Council? No one answered. 6 months, Minji said. It takes you 6 months because your supply chains span the galaxy, requiring materials from dozens of sources. Our ships are built entirely from local resources, faster and cheaper than yours. Daehyun brought up more data. Trade agreements with 73 non-council species. Joint defense pacts with 41 former council members. Technology exchange programs with dozens more. An intelligence network that has penetrated every major council system. What? Thilmar rose from his seat, his form flashing danger red. We've been inside your networks for 7 years, Minji said calmly. Reading your communications. Monitoring your fleet movements. Tracking your political decisions. We know your security codes. We know your strategic deployments. We know your backup plans for every contingency you've discussed. She paused to let that sink in. We could have destroyed you any time in the past 5 years. We could have disabled your fleets, shut down your communications, crashed your economy. We chose not to. Remember that. This is an act of war, Thulmar said. No, Daehyun replied. This is us showing you reality. You silenced us thinking we were weak. You isolated us thinking we'd fail. You ignored us thinking we were irrelevant. Every assumption you made was wrong. We're not weak. We're not failing. We're not irrelevant. We're the strongest power in this sector now, and we got there by doing exactly what you forced us to do. Standing on our own. A Sorax representative named Vexar spoke up. If humanity is so powerful, why negotiate at all? Why not simply take what you want? Because that's not who we are, Daehyun said. We could conquer you, yes. We could impose our will on the entire region. But that would make us exactly what you accused us of being. Aggressive, dangerous, and unworthy of respect. We'd rather build something better. What do you want? Thilmar asked quietly. Equal partnership, Daehyun said. Not subordination. Not provisional membership. Not second-class status. We want humanity recognized as a full peer in galactic society. We want fair trade based on mutual benefit, not exploitation. We want security cooperation based on actual security needs, not political theater. And we want it all formalized and guaranteed. And if we refuse, then we continue building our own alliance, Daehyun said simply. Right now we're offering you a chance to join something new, a chance to be part of a better system. But if you prefer to cling to the old ways, we'll move forward without you. Your choice doesn't change our trajectory. It only determines whether you're part of our future or a footnote in history. Chief Scientist Borum appeared on a holographic link from Earth. Chancellor Thulmar, I understand your confusion. You thought we were children who needed guidance. But children grow up, and sometimes the children surpass their elders because they're not bound by the same outdated assumptions. You're saying we're obsolete? Thulmar asked. I'm saying you have a choice, Borum replied. Adapt like we did or become irrelevant like you tried to make us. The galaxy is changing. The question is whether you'll change with it or fight against it until you break. The meeting continued for hours, but the fundamental truth had been established. Humanity held all the advantages now: technology, military power, economic strength, political alliances. The Council could accept this new reality or deny it, but denial wouldn't make it less true. As they left the station, Minji spoke quietly to Daehyun. Do you think they'll agree to our terms? The smart ones will, Daehyun replied. The proud ones will fight. But pride can't defeat reality. 16 years after the silencing, Fleet Admiral Seojun and Diplomatic Director Hana walked through the halls of Earth's central government building. Their faces were grim. They had just returned from another round of negotiations with the Council, and the news was not good. They offered us provisional membership, Seojun said, his voice tight with controlled anger. Provisional. After everything we've shown them, everything we've built, they still think we should be grateful for their scraps. President Junho sat behind his desk, listening to their report. Around him were gathered the leaders of humanity's government. Director Yuna of Defense, Chief Scientist Borum, Ambassador Jiwon, and a dozen others who had guided humanity through the past 16 years. What were the specific terms? Unyo asked. Hana pulled up a document on the holographic display. Limited trade rights. restricted military presence in council space, no voting rights on major decisions for at least 50 years, continued monitoring of our technological development, and, most insulting of all, a requirement that we submit our military deployments for council approval. They want to control us, Yuna said flatly. They're just using prettier words this time. Exactly, Seojin agreed. This isn't partnership. It's the same subordination they imposed before, just with a nicer title. They learned nothing. Junho was quiet for a moment, his fingers steepled in front of his face. He was an old man now, having led Earth through the darkest and brightest days in human history. His hair was white, his face lined with years of difficult decisions. But his eyes were still sharp. What do our allies say? He asked. The species who've already joined our alliance are furious, Jiwon reported. They see this as the Council still trying to maintain superiority through diplomacy instead of force. The Kresh have offered to support whatever decision we make. The Nerians and Sorax are ready to formally withdraw from the Council entirely. How many Council species are seriously considering leaving to join us? Unyo asked. 41 at last count, Yuna said. And that number grows every day. The Council is hemorrhaging members because we offer better terms, better technology, and better security. Species that have been subordinate for thousands of years are seeing a real alternative for the first time. Boram added, several Council species have approached us privately asking if they can access our technology, even if they remain Council members. They're trying to have it both ways. And what did you tell them? Unyo asked. That our technology is available to our allies, not our competitors, Boram replied. If they want access to human advances, they need to choose a side. Junho stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Earth had changed dramatically in 16 years. The buildings were taller, the technology more advanced, the people more confident. Humanity had grown up in isolation, and that growth showed everywhere. Draft an ultimatum, he said finally. Give the Council 30 days to meet our terms, or we form our own alliance officially and openly. What terms? Hana asked, already pulling up a document to record them. Complete dissolution of the Silence Protocol with a formal apology for its imposition. Full Council membership with immediate voting rights equal to any other species. Human representatives in Council military command structure. And restructuring of Council governance to give all species equal voice regardless of how long they've been members. Seojun whistled low. They'll never agree to that last one. That destroys the entire power structure that's kept the old species in control for millennia. Exactly, Junho said. We're not asking to join their system. We're demanding they create a better system. If they refuse, we'll build that better system ourselves and invite everyone to join us instead. The ultimatum was delivered the next day. Captain Nari of the diplomatic vessel Incheon Dawn personally presented it to Chancellor Tholmar in the council chamber. She read it aloud so every representative could hear, her voice clear and unwavering. When she finished, the chamber was silent. This is blackmail, Tholmar said finally. This is reality, Nari replied. You have 30 days to decide if you want to be part of the future or a relic of the past. The council's response was immediate and predictable. They rejected the ultimatum outright, calling humanity's demands unreasonable and threatening. They issued statements about maintaining traditional governance structures and resisting upstart species who didn't respect galactic order. But within 72 hours, something unexpected happened. The Kresh Hive formally withdrew from the council, announcing their intention to join humanity's alliance. In their statement, they cited the council's failure to adapt to changing circumstances and humanity's superior approach to interspecies cooperation. 24 hours later, the Nerians followed, then the Sorax. Then species that hadn't even been part of the preliminary talks began announcing their withdrawal from the council and their desire to join the human-led coalition. What's happening? Thulmar demanded in an emergency council session. You're watching the end of an empire, Zilthar replied. He was there as an observer now, no longer a council member. You had a chance to evolve. You chose pride instead. Now species are choosing survival. The exodus accelerated. Species saw what humanity offered. Open technology sharing, equal representation, better security, fairer trade. They compared it to what the council offered. Hierarchy, restrictions, exploitation, and stagnation. The choice was obvious. On Earth, Director Yuna tracked the departures in real time. 68 species have left the council in the past week. Another 37 have indicated they're seriously considering it. At this rate, the council will be reduced to fewer than 20 members by month's end. What about the Vexari? Unyo asked. Thulmar is holding firm, but his government is fracturing. Younger Vexari are demanding they join our alliance. They see their own leadership as the problem, clinging to power that no longer exists. Ambassador Daehyun, monitoring communications from the neutral station, reported another development. Several council species are trying to negotiate special terms with us. They want the benefits of our alliance without officially leaving the council. They're calling it dual membership. What are you telling them? Unyo asked. That they need to choose. We're not offering a middle ground. Either they trust the old system, or they trust the new one. Trying to keep feet in both camps suggests they don't truly commit to either. The deadline approached. 20 days after the ultimatum, over 100 species had either left the council or declared their intention to join humanity's alliance. The council chamber, once filled with hundreds of representatives, now held only 37. Thulmar called for a vote among the remaining members: accept humanity's terms or face complete dissolution. The vote was close, revealing just how divided even the loyalists were. But in the end, pride won. The council rejected humanity's ultimatum by a vote of 22 to 15. Captain Nari received the official response and transmitted it back to Earth. They refused, she reported. The council stands by its original position. Junho read the statement and nodded slowly. Then we move forward. Activate Protocol Unity. Across human space and throughout the networks of allied species, messages went out simultaneously. The Free Stars Alliance was officially formed. 109 species signed the founding charter in the first day. The document established principles of equality, shared defense, open technology exchange, and democratic governance where every member had equal voice. It was everything the council claimed to be but never was. Chancellor Thulmar watched as species he'd considered loyal for centuries formally withdrew to join humanity's alliance. He watched as trade networks collapsed. He watched as his military allies redirected their fleets to serve under human command structures. We could fight, suggested one of his remaining advisors. Fight what? Thulmar asked wearily. Their military is stronger. Their technology is better. Their alliances are deeper. Fighting would only prove we learned nothing from the past 16 years. Then what do we do? Thulmar's crystalline form flickered through colors expressing emotions most species couldn't read. Regret, fear, resignation, and something that might have been hope. We accept that we were wrong, he said quietly, and we hope they're more merciful to us than we were to them. 18 years after the silencing, the great station that had once housed the Galactic Council stood under new management. The Free Stars Alliance had purchased it from the remaining council species, who could no longer afford its maintenance. Now it served as the headquarters for an alliance of over 130 species, all gathered for the inaugural summit. Ambassador Jiwon walked through corridors that her father Jiho had walked 18 years ago, but everything had changed. Where before there had been guards restricting access and protocols limiting who could speak, now there was openness. Representatives from species barely known to galactic society mingled with ancient civilizations, all on equal footing. The main chamber had been redesigned. Gone were the tiers that placed some species higher than others. Now there was a circular arrangement where every seat was at the same level. Every voice carried the same weight. It was a small change that carried enormous meaning. Thulmar attended as a representative of the Vexari people, not as a chancellor. His crystalline form had lost much of its luster in recent months. He sat in a section that would have been considered subordinate in the old council, surrounded by species that had once deferred to his authority. Now they barely acknowledged his presence. The session began with a vote for the Alliance's first chancellor. The position was designed to rotate every 3 years, ensuring no single species could dominate. But for the first term, the choice was obvious and unanimous. Ambassador Jiwon of Earth, the votemaster announced, you have been elected as the first chancellor of the Free Stars Alliance by unanimous consent of all member species. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval, each species expressing celebration in their own way. Clicks, chirps, hums, and cheers mixed together in a symphony of voices. Jiwon stood and walked to the center of the chamber. She wore simple clothes, The same blue uniform her father had worn 18 years ago when he'd stood in a very different room, asking for very different things. She looked around at the assembled representatives and then, deliberately, made eye contact with Thulmar. 18 years ago, she began, her voice calm and clear. My father stood before the old council asking for partnership and protection. You answered by imposing silence, believing it would teach us humility and force us to recognize our place in your order. Thulmar's form flickered with colors expressing shame. What you taught us instead, Jiwan continued, was that we didn't need you. That we were stronger without your restrictions. That the only thing holding us back was our belief that we needed your approval to succeed. She paused, letting the words fill the chamber. You thought silence would break us. Instead, it forged us. You wanted to make us small and subordinate. You made us realize we were giants who just needed to stand up. History will remember the silencing not as humanity's punishment, but as the moment we understood we were never meant to kneel before anyone. The chamber remained silent, every being present understanding they were witnessing something important. But this alliance is not about humanity's revenge or dominance, Jiwan said, her tone shifting. It's not about making the same mistakes in reverse, putting ourselves above others the way the Council put certain species above us. This is about something better, something new. She gestured to the circular chamber. Every species here has equal voice. Every world has equal representation. Technology is shared freely, not hoarded for profit. Security is collective, not selective. Decisions are made democratically, not by ancient hierarchies. These aren't just nice principles written in a charter. They're the foundation of how we operate. A young Sorax representative named Cora stood. Chancellor, some worry that humanity's technological advantages will create a new form of dominance even if the structures are equal. A valid concern, Jiwan acknowledged. Which is why the Alliance Charter includes mandatory technology sharing. Every advancement made by any member species is available to all members. Yes, humanity has developed significant technology in the past 18 years. All of it is now freely accessible to every species in this chamber. We grow together or not at all. What about military power? Asked a Nerian representative. Humanity's fleet far exceeds any other species. Also by charter design, G1 replied. The Alliance Defense Force integrates ships and personnel from all member species under unified command. Yes, humans currently contribute the largest fleet, but command positions are distributed based on merit, not ship count. Admiral Korath of the Sorax commands the Eastern Fleet. Admiral Valex of the Nerians leads the Exploration Division. Fleet Admiral Seogen of Earth coordinates overall strategy, but he answers to this council, not to Earth's government. She looked around the chamber again. Power in this alliance comes from cooperation, not domination. Any species can leave whenever they wish. Any species can propose changes to our structure. We're building something that serves everyone, not just the founders. Thulmar stood slowly. Every eye turned to him. May I speak? All representatives may speak, G1 said. That's the point. Thulmar's form flickered through several colors before settling on a deep blue that indicated sincere remorse. I was wrong. The council I led was wrong. We believed our age gave us wisdom and our power gave us the right to rule. We treated younger species as children who needed our guidance, never realizing that our guidance was holding everyone back. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried genuine emotion. Ambassador Jiho came to us 18 years ago asking for fairness. We answered with punishment. We thought we were teaching a lesson about respect and hierarchy. What we actually taught was that the old order deserved no respect and that hierarchy serves only those at the top. Why are you saying this now? Asked Cora. Because I finally understand what we lost, Thulmar replied. Humanity didn't defeat us through conquest. They didn't destroy us through war. They simply built something better and invited everyone to join them. That's a more devastating defeat than any military campaign could have achieved. He looked at Jiwan. The Vexari people wish to formally join the Free Stars Alliance, if you'll have us. This council votes on all membership applications, Jiwan said. I cannot simply accept or reject your request. Then I ask this council to consider our application, Thulmar said. We were wrong. We learned. We wish to be part of something better than what we had. The vote was held immediately. Despite Thulmar's role in imposing the silence protocol, despite the council's arrogance and mistakes, The Free Stars Alliance voted to accept the Vexari people as full members. 70% voted in favor. "Welcome to the Alliance," Jiwan said formally. "Your people will have the same rights and responsibilities as every other member. No more, no less." Tulmar's form flickered with colors expressing gratitude and relief. On Earth, in the Defense Initiative headquarters, Director Yuna watched the broadcast with former Ambassador Jiho. Both were old now, having given most of their lives to humanity's struggle and eventual triumph. "Your daughter did well," Yuna said. "She learned from good teachers," Jiho replied. "You taught her to be strong. I taught her to remember why we fight. And why do we fight? Not for dominance. Not for revenge. We fight so that no one has to bow before anyone else, so that every species can stand tall and proud, so that cooperation replaces hierarchy." Yuna poured 2 glasses of Old Earth whiskey, a drink that was now popular throughout the Alliance. "To the silencing," she said, raising her glass. Jiho raised his glass as well. "The day they tried to break us and instead taught us how strong we really were." They drank, watching as the Alliance flag rose over the station, humanity's Earth symbol prominent but surrounded by symbols from dozens of other worlds, a banner representing unity through diversity, strength through cooperation, and progress through equality. Back in the chamber, G1 continued her speech. "This alliance faces challenges. There are still pirate groups operating in the outer regions. There are unexplored territories that may contain dangers we can't yet imagine. There are philosophical differences between our species that won't be easily resolved." She smiled. "But we'll face these challenges together as equals. We won't solve every problem immediately. We'll make mistakes. We'll have disagreements, but we'll work through them with respect and patience, not with punishment and isolation." "What about species that don't wish to join the alliance?" asked a Talok's representative. "They're free to remain independent or form their own associations," Jiwan said. "We're not building an empire that forces membership. We're building a coalition that earns membership. Anyone can join if they accept our principles. Anyone can leave if they find a better path." As the session concluded, representatives mingled and discussed the future. Old enemies found common ground. Ancient species learned from younger ones. Technology and culture flowed freely in conversations that would have been impossible under the old council structure. Thulmar approached Jiwan as the chamber emptied. "Your father would be proud." "My father is proud," Jiwan replied. "He's watching from Earth. Will you tell him something for me?" "What?" "That I'm sorry. That I finally understand what he was trying to teach us. That the measure of a civilization isn't how well it dominates others, but how well it lifts others up." Jiwan studied the crystalline being for a moment. "Oh,